Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Kevin, and I am excited to share with you my latest AWS Cloud hands-on project, where I explored how GenAI and AWS automation can transform the way businesses deliver value. Imagine an online education company that wants to make its courses more accessible. Their goal is simple: convert written materials into audio for visually impaired learners and senior audiences. It's both an accessibility win and a strategic move to secure new partnerships with schools serving these communities. To meet this goal, I built a serverless Gen AI solution using Amazon Polly. The flow: a Python script takes a text file, sends it to Polly, and produces a high-quality MP3 file. The file is then uploaded to an S3 bucket for easy storage and accessibility. The process is powered by GitHub Actions, creating a full CI/CD pipeline that regenerates and uploads new audio versions whenever content is updated. Everything runs securely with AWS credentials, stored in GitHub secrets, so nothing is hard-coded. The results: automated audiobook creation, scalability, cost-efficient AWS setup, and broader reach through improved accessibility. Enough talk. Let's get into the video. So let's start off by creating the S3 bucket. Right now we're in the Amazon AWS console. We're going to select S3, and we're going to create a bucket. Okay, so now that we're in the dashboard, we're going to do a general purpose bucket. Let's keep in mind that we're in US East 1. Now let's create a bucket name, a unique name. So we're going to call this Pixel Learning Poly S3. Okay, just verify the name, Pixel Learning Poly S3. Okay, and we're going to keep these settings the same. Block all public access. Okay, we're going to open up for public access, so we're going to uncheck that and check the acknowledgement, and everything else stays default. We're going to create the bucket. Okay, so that was successfully created. So we've created our bucket, Pixel Learning Poly S3, which is in region US East 1. So now let's select the bucket. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set up permissions for the bucket so that everyone from the internet can access the bucket, especially our GitHub account. So let's go to bucket policy. We're going to create a policy. Let's select the edit button. Okay, and we're going to select the bucket ARN. We're going to need this for later. We're going to do a policy generator. Okay, type of policy, S3 bucket policy. We're going to allow access from anyone. So wildcard actions. We're going to allow access to get object. So we're going to look for the get. So here we go, get object, Amazon resource name, ARN. Let's paste in what we copied earlier. We're going to do a / wildcard, and we're going to add a statement. So this is just a summation, wildcard. So we're going to allow any to get access to the objects within the bucket. We're going to generate the policy. You see the policy is written in JSON format. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back to our bucket policy section, paste it in. Okay, and we're going to Save changes. Okay, so the bucket policy has been created. Let's go back to the policy generator tab. Let's close this out. Okay, so now we're back to the S3 bucket. So the policy has been created. So, okay, so now let's go to our bucket. So we have our bucket. We've created permissions. So the next thing we need to do is we need to create an object. The object we're going to create is going to be a folder. Now we're going to put in a name for the folder, Poly Audio. It's going to be the name for this folder. We're going to create the folder. Okay, so we've created the S3 bucket. We've created permissions allowing all access to the objects in the bucket, and we've created an object, a folder called Poly-Audio. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our IAM role. We're going to create the IAM role for our GitHub account. Okay, so now we're in our IAM dashboard where we're going to create an IAM role for a new user. So let's go to users. We're going to create a user, and this role is going to be for our GitHub account so that it can access our Amazon Poly as well as our S3 bucket. So username, we're going to type GitHub Poly user. We're going to select next. Now we want to attach a policy directly. So we're going to select that. Let's start off by typing Poly. So we have Amazon Poly full access. And now let's type S3. What we're going to do is we're going to assign Amazon S3 full access. Okay, so now we're going to go to next. So permission summary, full access to Poly, full access to S3. We're going to create the user. All right, notice the user has been created. So the next thing we want to do is create access keys for this role. So let's click on our GitHub Poly user, and we're going to click on security credentials. Now let's click on create access key. Now the access key that we're going to create is going to be used for application running on an AWS compute service. So we're going to click next. Oh, let me confirm this. Let's go to next. Now let's create the access key. Okay, so the access key has been created. All right, so now let's download this as a .cvs file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the file. Okay, so now I have the access key ID and I have the secret access key saved in a special folder. Okay, so now I'm done. Perfect. All right, so now I've created the IAM role for the GitHub account, and I have also created an access key, and I've stored that. Okay, so the next step is to go to our GitHub account and create the repository and all the other requirements that are needed as well. So now we're at our GitHub account, And what we want to do is create a new repository. So I'm going to go to the upper right, create new repository. Now, for the naming convention, I want to keep this consistent with what we have named for our S3 bucket. So I'm going to do AWS, I'm going to do Poly, CI/CD, pipeline. Okay, and this name is available. Okay, we're going to have a public. We're going to add a README file to this. And we're going to go ahead and create. Okay, so the repository has been created, and you can see the readme.md file. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is we have our main branch. I want to protect this. So let's go to settings. We're going to click branches. We're going to do add classic branch protection rule. I'm going to name this main. So these are a few things I want to select. Require a pull request before merging. Require approvals. Dismiss stale pull request approvals. Require review from code owners. Require approval from the most recent reviewable push. Require status checks. Require branches to be up to date. And require compensation resolution before merging. So those are the only things that are needed right now. Let's create. Okay, so we have that in place. So let me go back to our main area. Okay, so we created the repository. We protected the branch. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make a clone of the repository to our local desktop. So let's go to code. And this is HTTP address. I want to, let me see, open with GitHub Desktop. So I have a local copy of GitHub Desktop on my PC. Okay. So now the path that I've already used for my other repositories are here. All right, so let's start the clone. Okay, so the clone is created. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, I have the AWS Poly CI/CD pipeline on my PC, and it is connected to the main branch. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to upload two things. One, the text file, which I'm going to call the speech.txt. That's going to contain the text that I want the AI Poly service to convert to speech. And then the next thing is my Python script, which is going to have all the coding needed to take text from the text file to take it to the Poly services, and vice versa. So let me go ahead and find the text file. Okay, so what I need to do now is to upload to the repository two things. The first is the .text file, which I will be calling the speech.txt. Within it, I'm going to have the text speaking about the company, Pixel Learning Co., giving a brief breakdown of what the company is about. I'm going to use this text. The AI service, Poly, is going to convert that to speech, and we're going to match it up with a voice, and we're going to hear what that sounds like. The second file is going to be the Python script. That's going to contain all the coding that's going to be used to pull the text from the text file, to go to the Poly services, to have Poly convert that to speech, to create the beta and the pod, the production MP3 files, putting it in the folder. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go to show and explore our local repository. Okay, so let me pull this over so that you can see. Right now we have the README file. So let me go and add I'm going to add the speech file. Okay, I'm going to paste it. Okay, so this is the speech.txt. If I open it really quick, and just to show you what I have, it's a brief breakdown of the company. Welcome to Pixel Learning Co., digital first education startup. So it gives a little brief overview. All right, so that's there. So the next thing I need to do is I need to upload the Python script. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this through Visual Studio Code. So let me click on this. Okay, perfect. So this opens up my Visual Studio Code application. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, all right, so as you can see in my Explorer, I'm already connected to the local repository, AWS Poly CI/CD pipeline. The README file is there, and the speech.txt file is there. So let me create a new file, and I'm going to call this synthesize.py. Okay, so let me go ahead and get the coding that I worked on. All right, just want to copy it from my notepad. I'm going to paste it in right now. Just wait a few minutes. Okay, so here's the code. I'm not going to go into the code right now, but I'm going to save this. Okay, so this pretty much breaks down. So right now we have the text file and we have the Python script. So let me close this out. Okay, so in our desktop, our GitHub desktop, we see that a change is shown. We have the speech.txt file, and we have the synthesize.py file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a branch and have this pushed. So let me come here to the summary. Update our files. All right, so we're going to branch. We're going to create a new branch. I'm going to name this Poly Update Changes. We're going to create the branch. Okay, so we're going to push the changes. We're going to commit these two files. All right, we're going to publish the branch. You see it's taking effect. Let me move this out of the way. All right, so right now we see change has taken effect. We're going to compare and pull request. Okay, so we see an update of files. We're going to create a pull request. Now, the review is blocked because we need to approve this. So what I'm going to do is purchase that without waiting for requirements to be met. Okay. Bypass rules. Since this is just my repository for my hands-on project, merge pull, confirm bypass rules, merge. All right, pull request successfully merged and closed. Now I'm going to delete the branch that I have. Okay, so now let's go to our repository. Okay, and as you can see, speech.txt file is here, and the synthesize.py Python script is here. So the next thing we need to do is to utilize GitHub's Actions and create two workflows. So here's the main dashboard for GitHub Actions. What we're going to do is we're going to skip this and set up a workflow ourselves. Okay, this shows the path. .github workflows. We're going to name this one. Let me highlight this. This one is going to be for our pull requests. I'm going to name this one on pull request .yml, which is going to be a YAML file. So let me go to my notepad. I'm going to copy and paste. Okay, so here's the YAML file. And if you look at the very bottom, it references environment. So after we create both of these workflows, we're going to create what's called GitHub secrets, where we're going to have our access key ID and our secret access key IDs. So we want to put all of this here. We never want to add these to our Python script. All right, so this piece is done. Let me commit the changes. Okay, so this is going to create the commit message, pull request. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new branch for this commit. By default, it automatically generates a name. We're going to propose the changes. It's going to go through the basic steps. We're going to create the pull request. Now we're always going to see this red because a review is required and the merging is blocked. See right here it says some checks haven't been completed yet. So I'm going to select this. This is merging without waiting. We're going to bypass the rules because this is my hands-on project. I'm the only one here checking this. bypass the rule, confirm bypass rules, and merge. Okay, so everything went through. So if we go back, okay, so we see that there's one workflow here, create on pull request YAML. So let's go back to actions. Okay, one workflow. Of course, this didn't work because we're not completed with the whole process. So let me create a new workflow. We're going to rename this, and this is going to be for on merge. Let's do on merge YAML. Let me go to my notepad again, copy the YAML, paste it in, converts text to speech, production. Okay, let me commit changes. Now I'm going to do this directly to the branch because right now we're just setting up this process. So I'm going to bypass rules and commit changes. Okay, so right now we have on merge YAML and we have on pull request YAML. So let's go back to our main. Okay, so as you can see, we have our README file, our text file, Python script, and our two workflows. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we need to set up what's called a GitHub secrets. Now, we're going to go to our settings. We're going to go to our secrets and variables. We're going to go to our actions. Okay, so we're going to go to repository secrets and we're going to do new repository secret. So we're going to create a few of these. So the first one we're going to create is going to be AWS access key ID, and let me go to my notepad and select the key ID. Okay, place it in, add secret. Okay, I'm gonna create the next one, new repository secret. Okay, so this one is going to be AWS secret. AWS secret access key. Go to my notepad. Copy. Paste that in. Okay, now we're going to go to another repository secret. I'm going to call this one AWS region, and the region that we're currently in, US East 1. And finally, we're going to add one for S3 bucket, S3 bucket name. Let me go to our buckets tab. Alright, so this is the name of our bucket. Just remember what I said before, which region that we're in. US East 1. It's important that we stay here. So the bucket is in US Region 1, and the repository secrets for the code, for the Python code, has to also be in US 1. So the Python code has to be able to reach Poly, and also has to be able to reach our bucket. So let me copy that. Let me go back to here. So learning is the name of our bucket. Okay, so we've added 1, 2, 3, 4 secrets. Go back. Okay, this is what we've created. So the final piece is going to be to update the README file. We'll probably do this at the end of this project, or you know what? Let me see if I can just put in what I have so far. So let me go to my notepad. I'm going to copy. So let's go to the README file. Okay, we're going to edit the file. Okay, let me put in updated information. Okay, I'm going to commit the changes, and since this is just the README file, we're going to commit directly to the main branch. Bypass rules and commit. Okay, so the changes have been saved. Go to the main. Okay, so in this README file is pretty much going over the purpose of this project. This project converts text to speech using Amazon Poly and uploads the result to S3 using GitHub Actions. It goes over the setup, creating an S3 bucket, a folder as an object within, and the necessary bucket policy, creating an IAM user role for Poly and S3 bucket, and the GitHub secrets. It talks about modifying the text, and upon doing so, committing the changes, and how that's going to trigger two types of workflows. It's going to trigger the pull request. After the pull request has been successfully committed, there's also the merge request, merging changes to the main branch. It also talks about checking the output, going to the S3 bucket, looking at the MP3 files, downloading them and playing them. So in essence, that covers the README file walking through how it works in its entirety. Okay, so we've added everything we need in the README file, and right now we're going to have some fun. We're going to actually test out this application. So we're going to make a change in the speak.txt file, and this is going to cause us to perform a pull request, a commit changes, and then it's going to start the whole process. So let's go to speech.txt. We're going to modify, we're going to edit the file, and at the end I have a great day, but in this instance I'm going to do have an amazing day. Okay, so now we're going to commit the changes, commit messages here, update speech.txt. So anything you touch, speech.txt, the Python code, README file is going to come up in this message. We're going to create a new branch. It automatically creates the branch name. It's going to start a pull request. We're going to propose changes. So as you can see, create a pull request. Okay. Alright, so the process is going through. Now as you can see, convert text to speech. The beta file, MP3 file, has been created and is successful. So that file has been created, and we use the workflow to pull on requests. So let's go really quick to the S3 bucket. You see the name of the bucket. You see our folder. And as you can see, the beta file has been dropped into the bucket. Now we're going to take a listen to this. But before we do that, let's go back to GitHub. We need to complete the merging portion because merging is blocked. So I'm going to select merge without waiting for requirements, bypass rules and merge. Confirm bypass rules. Now the changes have been pushed to our main branch. And as you can see, pull request successfully merged and closed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to delete that branch that was just automatically created. We're going to go back here. Now if you take a look at your speech.txt file, you notice at the end, have an amazing day was modified. Okay, so now let's go to our S3 bucket, refresh. Now you see the product MP3 file is here. Okay, so the next step is for us to, we're going to listen to the beta. We're going to download that file. Okay, so let me go to folder that I have open. I'm doing this on the side. Downloads. I'll drop the beta in my folder. Alright, let me go to MP3. I'm going to play that file.
Welcome to Pixel Learning Company, a digital-first education startup focused on accessibility and automation. To better support learners with visual impairments, or those who prefer listening over reading, we are now delivering course content in audio format. By using AWS AI services, we can automatically convert materials stored in GitHub into high-quality audio. Enjoy your learning experience with Pixel Learning Company, and have an amazing day.
Okay, that was the voice of Joanna, and she read beautifully the text that we had with "Have an amazing day" at the end. Now the production sounds the same. It's just the final approved piece that this is going to showcase. So let me do this real quick. Let me download that, and so that I can play this really quick. Okay. Let that play.
Welcome to Pixel Learning Company, a digital-first education startup focused on accessibility and automation.
Okay, so he sees the same thing. So now I'm going to do something a little different. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to GitHub. So what I want to do now is, instead of making a change to the speech to text, I want to make a change to the Python code. If you look at the code, within the response equals poly.synthesize_speech, there's a voice ID section. This is where we have the voice, the female voice, Johanna. I'm going to change this to a male voice, Matthew, and I want to hear how the text is changed to speech with his voice. So let me go to edit. So where Johanna is, I'm going to type the name Matthew. Now I also changed out or modified the speech.text just to make it sound a little different. So let me commit the changes. I'm going to do propose changes. All right, we're going to do a create pull request. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. So now the AI service Poly is converting the text to speech, and the created MP3 audio is going to be saved as a beta.mp3 file in our S3 bucket. So we have a success. Okay, so now if I go to the bucket, refresh, I have the latest date for the beta file. Let me go back. Let me approve the merging, merge without saving, bypass the rule, confirm bypass rule. Wait a few seconds. Now we see the pull request successfully merged and closed. So now let me delete the branch. Now if I go to the bucket, refresh, refresh again. Okay, so I see the prod.mp3 has been updated. So now let's take a listen. Select the beta. I'm going to download that, and let me go to my folder, the beta in there, double click. Now we're going to listen to the voice of Matthew reading the new text information that I have. Okay.
The journey to becoming a cloud DevOps engineer isn't an easy one. Change isn't easy. Sacrifice isn't easy. Perseverance and commitment aren't easy, but the fruits of success will be well worth it. There is a saying by Billy Anderson that goes, "Being scared is a good thing. If you're never scared, it means you are coasting through life, not maximizing your gifts, and not living true to the person that you're meant to be. If you're never scared, you are not being you." Having courage is being scared and doing it anyway, because the something you want is bigger than the fear itself. Here's to making my dreams a reality with Level Up in Tech.
Amazing. Well said, Matthew. Well said. So as mentioned before, our prod.mp3 file is the same thing. It's just with an approval for merging to the main branch. This brings us to the conclusion of our hands-on project. And what I want to do now is to do a quick summary of everything that was accomplished. So we started off by going to our Amazon account and creating an S3 bucket. We then gave permissions to all the objects within the bucket so that everyone from the outside could view the contents. We then created a folder called poly.audio, which would contain the created MP3 files. We then created an IAM role, which would give GitHub access, full access to the Amazon Poly services and to the S3 bucket. The next phase, we went to our GitHub account. We created a repository. We uploaded within our repository a speech.txt file, a synthesis.py file, which is Python script. We also created with GitHub Actions 2 workflows, a pull request and a merge request. And finally, within our GitHub account, we created a GitHub secrets. And what that does, it contains sensitive information about our IAM account, that being the access key ID, the secret access key. It also contained the AWS region and S3 bucket name. So this is what we accomplished in this project. And I just want to say I've learned quite a lot from using the Amazon Poly text-to-speech service. I know this is part of the deep learning technology, Gen AI. Looking forward to using more of the deep learning technologies and seeing where I can have that applied in real use case scenarios. So thank you all for following me in this journey, and closer and closer to the cloud, DevOps engineer. Thank you all. Have a great day.